Hello and welcome to another episode of I Can Do with Benjamin Lee. Thank you so much for tuning in again. I hope and pray that all is well with you. Hope you're getting ready for Thanksgiving and getting ready to enjoy your family. In this episode, we're talking about more than just a number. It can be really easy as we go after our fitness goals to focus on certain numbers, in particular, the scale. In this episode, I want to talk about some of the dangers with that and some simple things that we can do to measure, or ways to measure, our success. So if you're ready, let's go. Let's get started. One of the interesting things that I think about is that from the time that we are born, we are on some type of scale. When my son was born 8 years ago, immediately after or a few minutes after he was born or delivered, they weighed him. I can't remember exactly how much he weighed, but I think he fell within the normal range. Certainly that's something that we all have to experience and do. We need to do that with our babies, and numbers are important. But it is interesting that as the years continue to go by, we tend to stay somewhat connected to the scale, don't we? I had a friend a couple of years ago, she shared with me this title or this phrase, which I really liked. She said that she is a scaleaholic. I just thought that was interesting, and I appreciated her honesty. And if I'm being honest, I would say I was the same way as well, where we tend to measure our success when it comes to fitness, weight loss, things like that, solely upon the scale. Now, the scale does have a place. I'm not saying that we should never use it. You go to the doctor's office, and they put you on the scale, which can be really frustrating. Does anyone else get frustrated with that? It's the one day that maybe you wear some heavy clothes or bigger shoes, or maybe you just had a big meal before you went in or something like that. And a lot of people get really nervous just getting on that scale. Who's going to see these numbers? What's the nurse thinking when you get on the scale? And so sometimes that can play a lot of mind tricks with people. I remember back in 2016, I actually had 2 scales in my house. So my wife, Nikki, she doesn't gain weight essentially, all right? And even though I had these 2 scales in the house, she wasn't using either of them. I was the one that was using both of these scales to measure my success, to measure and track where I was. I had just become so paranoid that I wanted to make sure that I was actually getting a good number. She wasn't even touching these scales. Thankfully, I came to my senses with assistance from others to understand that there are different ways to measure success, different ways to measure whether or not I'm going in the right direction. And I really want to talk about that just for a few minutes today. There's so much emphasis upon numbers today. And don't get me wrong, we have to measure certain things. We need to know where we are in certain areas. I just had some blood work done. The numbers are important when it comes to things like cholesterol and blood pressure and A1C and vitamin D levels and things like that. But I think if not careful, we can get really caught up with the numbers. It's not just with fitness goals either. But even as you think about what's going on in social media, it's interesting how Facebook and Instagram, they're contemplating whether or not to get rid of like buttons, because so many people get caught up in how many likes do I have? How many followers do I have? And it's not just on Facebook and social or Instagram. You name it, whatever it may be, TikTok, WordPress, whatever it could be, even this podcast, I'm keeping track of the numbers. So we want numbers to hopefully get better or get bigger, depending on what the thing may be. But sometimes we can get so caught up in the numbers where we can put ourselves in a little bit of a dangerous situation if not careful. As you think about fitness and weight loss and things like that, it can be really easy to get frustrated or to get attached to the scale where it's all about how much you weigh every single day. When that begins to happen, we can overlook the great things that we already may be accomplishing. So the scale sometimes may not always be an accurate measure of whether or not you're being successful and following through and getting the things that need to be done. So I want to suggest to you that as you think about your fitness and weight loss goals, that even if you want to continue to weigh yourself on a regular basis or measure your success by the scale, I would encourage you to also measure your success in a couple of different ways. One of the ways that you could do it is just by tracking how many times you're working out each week. If you're setting a goal for yourself, have you been successful with that? I've been running with a friend of mine. We actually just stopped a little challenge that we had, but one of the challenges that we did was each week we were going to run 13 miles per week. I wasn't necessarily getting on the scale every day or at the end of each week, but I was able to track my success in a different way. Did I hit those 13 miles? And I know that you have numbers involved with that as well, but it's a different kind of attachment with those numbers. So there's different ways to measure your success. If one of the things you're trying to do is getting up early in the morning to work out or exercise, that's a pretty great way to measure whether or not you're going in the right direction. Are you waking up on time? Are you turning the alarm off? Are you getting to the gym when you're supposed to be getting to the gym? You track that over a couple of months, and I can almost guarantee you're going to be losing weight or gaining muscle, whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish. But there's different ways to measure whether or not we're going in the right direction, whether or not we're being successful. I think one of the best ways is with our clothes. I do understand that, again, numbers are involved with that, our waist size, shirt size, and things like that. But clothes are a great way to track your success, to track whether or not you're going in the right direction. Clothes that may be hanging up in your closet right now, maybe you haven't been able to fit them for a long period of time. Try on those jeans, try on that shirt, try on that suit. That's a good indication or a good indicator of whether or not you may be going in the right direction. So as we think about the numbers, we need to understand that we're more than just the numbers, all right? Yeah, even when you think about finances, it's all about the FICO score, right? What's your number? What's your FICO score? Well, that's not always a good indication, a good indicator of what a person may have with respect to cash and savings and things like that. So we got to be careful with the numbers and how we go about tracking or measuring our success, especially when it comes to our fitness goals. So as you think about your numbers, as you think about your relationship with the scale, be careful with that. And set some type of parameter, whether you're going to weigh yourself once a week or once every other week or once a month, whatever the case may be. Set some wise parameters where you're not becoming so attached to saying that I'm successful or not successful based upon what you are seeing on the scale. I know there are books out there, and I've read some books out there as well that do advocate weighing every day and how that can help motivate people to stay on track. And for some people that may work, but it appears to me, just talking to people, that sometimes that can become a little bit more challenging. So you need to figure out what is it that's going to work best for you, and making sure that no matter what that may be, understanding that you're still more than just a number, all right? So it doesn't matter how many followers you may have on your blog or your podcast. It doesn't matter how many likes you may get on your Facebook post. It doesn't matter if you're trying to run a half marathon and you're just starting off. Don't worry so much about the time. Worry more about finishing and accomplishing what you said you were going to do. And remember, it's not just all about the numbers. We're more than just a number. There's so many different ways to measure and track our success. So take note of that. Consider some different ways. Maybe it's your clothes. Maybe you're setting yourself up to say, okay, look, I'm going to do this many workouts this week. I'm going to run this many miles this week. Different ways to track and to measure your success. I hope this helps. Remember, I can do, and so can you. I would love if you could share this with others. I'd love if you could leave me a review. Leave me a 5-star rating if you think it's worthy of a 5-star rating. And please leave me a review and stay strong. And I'll talk to you later. Take care and God bless.